Hello, my sunrays. This will be chapter 12 of It's a Small World by emphasis on Ghostwriter. The reveal. There is a minor trigger warning for this chapter. It doesn't go into much detail, but Aizawa talks about concern that Ghost doesn't have access to regular food, good food, or in case I separate the chapter, it marks with an and before and after. Okay, let's just get into this. Oh wait, as always, the link is down in the description. Can't forget that again. Shota had complained once about Nezu's need for dramatics and how he watched the cameras when people were arriving in order to open the door just as they were about to knock. Apparently, it was one of his favorite power plays. Not to mention, not necessarily have been the best idea. Rizuki was in little shit. So both the first time he came up here and now Izuku didn't bother to knock. He just found the little camera and waved. The first time, the door had swung open with a delighted laugh from the principal. Now it swung open with a bright grin. Nezu's office was a large room on the third floor, positioned to get a much brighter point to get as much bright yet indirect light as possible throughout the day. From the large bay windows, his desk would point along the left wall facing the room, with a couple of chairs on the opposite side of where he sat. In the middle of the room sat a coffee table surrounded by couches and armchairs, and bookshelves lined the wall directly in front of the door with more branching out along the wall just left of the door, both filled with books on various subjects, photos, and vigorous snicks and knacks. Ah, Midori-kun, there you are. How is Shota-kun's assignment this morning? Nezu gestured for him to sit in one of the chairs across from the desk from him. He was a freshly brewed cup of tea already waiting for him there. It was fine. Izuku matched the grin that slipped the lavender tea as he sat. It was kind of fun, actually, and I guess he decided everyone had potential because he didn't expel anybody. I think most of the class believed him about a logical ruse, though. Tell me, why do you think it wasn't a logical ruse? Nezu raised a curious eyebrow and whooped. Izuku had almost walked into a trap. Blame how tired he was. He really wanted a nap. Nezu almost certainly knew he'd known Aizawa for years as Ghost. It was Nezu, but Izuku wasn't about to confirm that to anyone yet. For starters, from what I've seen from him, he doesn't seem the type. Logical ruses in general, sure, but to threaten something on that level of expulsion on day one and then walk it back does run the risk of the credibility of him actually expelling anyone. and I don't think he'd want that. Also, I've seen the stories online from the former students of his, and I know he expelled his entire class last year. The best part, the best part of it was technically wasn't a lie, and potentially could have fooled Tsukashi. Izuku never specified how much he'd seen of Aizawa. Well, you're not currently not wrong. Nezu huffed a little laugh and pushed a snack of test buckets in Zu's direction. And I'm glad to hear you're having fun on your first day so far. Now, as we discussed before term stand, I'd like you to take these assignments just so we can see where you are on the verge of subjects. They are not for a grade. Not all of them are traditional school subjects. They're just for me to get a better understanding of where you are. He glanced at the clock on the wall. Lunch will be delivered in about an hour, and you're free to eat with me here or join the others your own age down in the cafeteria. It's up to you, but let me know so you can have them send an appropriate amount of meals. Here is fine. Izuku didn't particularly want to deal with a crowd of his own today if he didn't have to. Then I'll let lunchrooms know. Nezu gave a pleased grin. Also, given that you've not only already graduated high school, but have completed multiple college online courses online, I'm not concerned about your work ethic. Take breaks as you like, but I prefer these done before you leave if possible. I'd like you to attend the normal classes with your peers tomorrow to get a better acquainted with them and your sensei. And I can use these during matter of time to tailor my lessons for you. Sound good? Sounds good, Principal Nezu. Izuku smiled excitedly as he grabbed the stack of tests, setting in at the coffee table. He hadn't taken a truly challenging test in a while. Call him a nerd if you must. He was excited. Nezu tests were fun, especially the ones covering things like manipulating the press/public image, generating general security, and sub and physiology, psychological. And he'd barely realized any time had passed before the door switched open for an security robot carrying two meals, carrying a tray of 2 meals. Izuku and Nezu chattered throughout lunch, then Izuku dived back into the test booklets. He did make himself stop for a break or two during the course of the afternoon. He did have some good self-care habits after all, and he didn't want to set a bad first example in front of Principal Nezu. About 45 minutes before the school day ended saw Izuku wrapping up the last test. The rest of the time was spent discussing in more detail the things Izuku was interested in learning about. Kami. He started to get excited about the school year. This was definitely worth it. This was definitely not worth it. Izuku changed his mind before he even left the main school building, to a soundtrack of a very irritated Bakugo yelling. The luck that had carried him through the entrance exam and most of the day finally ran out, leaving Izuku cornered by his former childhood friend turned bully. On particularly stunning instance of wrong place, wrong time, Izuku had outside of the class of 1B classroom just as As the students poured out of the final bell rang. Fuck. He'd actually been having a pretty good day. Great day. Izuku was too goddamn tired for this. Hi, Bakugo. He started, blushing scarlet as his eyes turned on them. Extra fuck. Don't don't you hi Bakugo me, you damn shitty Deku. Where the fuck have you been? Bakugo advanced on Izuku, grabbing him by the shirt collar and slamming him backwards against the wall. More aggressively than Izuku had been hoping for, this interaction finally played out, but at least he wasn't tossing explosions yet. Bakugo's hands were close to his throat, made him extremely nervous. But at least Bakugo had probably smart enough to realize that UA wasn't like Aldera. An open quirk used in the halls probably wouldn't sweep under the rug here like it was before. I don't think that's any of your business. Izuku ground out, feeling more of his ghost persona taking over. At least the stutter seemed to be gone. The fuck do you mean, not my business, Deku? We thought you moved to America with Auntie Inko. Then the hag surprised her with a visit and you were nowhere to be seen. This was definitely getting weird, and Izuku wasn't sure what to do about it. Oh, there it is. The blonde was being as loud and aggressive as always, and still calling him by that awful insult, but his question almost sounded concerned. Under all the overly Bakugo-ness, he also hadn't once commented on their respective placements in the exam, or out Izuku as quirkless outright. It was very confusing, and starting to make Izuku's head spin, though he could have been how he felt like couldn't breathe. They didn't even have any of your photos up. What on earth is going on here? Aizawa moved through the hallway, clearly pissed, his quirk already active, causing students to part before him like the Red Sea. Quick as a whip, white strands of capture scarf wrapped themselves around Bakugo and pulled him away from Izuku, who was dragging a step forward by the collar before the other boy finally let go. Though he didn't actually look choked out, he was more uncomfortably familiar with the situation due to the whole vigilante thing. The second Bakugo was off of him, Izuku's lungs opened right back up. Khan, get out here. The rest of you, clear out. The corked gaze flashed around the students who'd stopped or been stopped by the spectacle, causing them to scatter. I'm currently trying to, but it's kind of hard without crushing students. Vlad's voice shouted from where he was blockaded into his own classroom, but now that students were actually moving under Aizawa's glare, he was able to finally make it out of the hall. Izuku would have sworn he heard him mutter something about vent gremlins under his breath. What the hell happened? Actually, doesn't matter. Nezu will have caught it all on camera. I will deal with mine, you will deal with yours. Works for me, Aizawa sighed, hair falling as he released his quirk and Bakugo from his capture weapon. Great. Sorry about this, Aizawa. Vlad grimaced before returning to Bakugo and marching him to the direction Izuku came from, saying something about visiting Nezu, much to Bakugo's concerned. Izuku wasn't paying paying the most attention to them anymore. He was too busy staring at Aizawa, who was also watching the pair leave. He'd stopped Bakugo. Nezu shouldn't be, and kind of hated that he was, surprised. It was Aizawa, but no one had ever stopped Bakugo before. You okay, Midoriya? The hero finally asked, turning to face Izuku. I'm fine. Izuku blinked at him, shaking hands, still rubbing his throat. It didn't hurt. Even after all that, he didn't think he would be more than a bruise, but it was a reflex. The anger in Aizawa's eyes softened as he gave Izuku a once-over, apparently deeming he was otherwise unhurt. Always such a problem child brat. Shota huffed in that familiar tone, a tone meant for Ghost, not Midori Izuku. The kid froze. Only one thought echoed through his head. Aizawa figured it out. Fuck. Aizawa. Always such a problem child brat. Aizawa huffed, not quite realizing he had a touch too familiarity in his tone than he normally would for having one of his students. Now let's get you down to recovery, girl. I want to make sure you're actually alright after that. The kid didn't move to follow him, though, and after a second, the pro realized his mistake. It seemed that of the two, the hero was the first to break their little code of silence, praying to any deity that would listen that he hadn't just fucked up everything. He slowly turned back around to find the kid staring at him with an unreadable expression. When did you figure it out? Izuku softly asked. The entrance exam. The entrance exam. Shota answered just as softly. By then the hallway had cleared out, and Nezu would warn them if Aizawa somehow missed someone's approach who wasn't in the know. So it was safe enough to have the conversation here. He wasn't convinced his kid wouldn't just book it if he delayed it any long enough to move somewhere more private. Thanks to your helmet, I never realized you picked up on my less absurd facial expression. The feral grin? Yeah. Zashi and I both recognized it. Almost gave them a heart attack. Huh? The kid finally fell silent, just staring back at Shota. He'd clearly been able to tell the kid was exhausted earlier, and even stressful he was sure today had have to been for Shota. He was sure he hadn't slept well before. The exhaustion, though, was currently overfesting Izuku's reactions, though, and Shota couldn't get a read if it was bad or not. This doesn't have to change. You protected me from Bakugo. The two spoke at the same time, and Shota felt his blood go cold. Did Izuku not trust him to protect him? Had he done something to make him think that? Threatening to expel a student was the only thing I'll fix that later. Okay. Threatening to expel a student was the only thing he could think of, but he would have figured the kid would know Shota wouldn't do that to him, at least. Had he misunderstood, misread everything? You're my kid. Shota was a little worried, though this was doing something coming off too strong, but he meant it, and he hadn't have anything other response anyway. I'm going to protect you. All through, he'd protect any of his students, although he'd protect any of his students if they were attacked unprompted by one of their fellows like that. even if the kid's breath hitched, eyes desperately searching Jota's face for what the man didn't know. Even if I'm Diartman, what? Even if you're Diargan, Jota confirmed calmly, hoping his lack of shock at the bombshell. He never even suspected the little vigilante of also being the infinite hacker that brought corruption to villains alike to light, although the press and social media and proper authorities refused to listen to or actually deal with the issue. Not that it changed things, but but Izuku, Ghost, his kid, finally let loose after word falling from the increasingly distraught boy's mouth. I was on my own and couldn't afford not to start analysis, but I also couldn't let anyone be hurt, people with it, so I created Yartman to stop them, but I still did it, and I don't know if that actually counts as villainy itself, but I still and debated them and belief they could go to jail. Definitely could go to jail for that, and two of your friends are police, and the boy found himself cut off as he was wrapped in a bone-crushing hug from Shota, who couldn't hold back anymore as the picture painted itself clearly in his mind. He suspected that Ghost had been on his own from first day they met, so there was no way any adults in his life wouldn't figure out what the child had been up to in the night. Yeah, I can finish this. He'd also never shown any signs of having some shelter either. And sure, Shota had made to defeat the kid every night. Even the nights he didn't have to patrol, he'd go and meet up with the kid. But that was because he did himself needed cover for the kid access to actual nutrients food. The vigilante was small, yes, but he never been concerningly small that intended malnutrition. Yeah, no, I'm not going to finish that. It's already at 22 minutes. So the next one of this one's going to be a little shorter. This one's going to be longer. I hope you're having a good day or night. Sorry a lot today. I little overstimulated because I did a lot of socializing. And socializing is a bitch. But as always, the link is down in the description. I hope you enjoyed, and again, sorry for all the stuttering in this one. And yeah, see you next time.